Good evening. My name is Elias Khoury. I am from Beirut, Lebanon, and I will be reading from my novel Yalo, which is translated to English. The novel is about a young Lebanese who was imprisoned and tortured in order to oblige him to confess crimes he never committed. And the ultimate technique of torture was to oblige him to write and rewrite his life story, although he didn't know how to write. And I want to dedicate this reading to the 8,000 Palestinian prisoners in the jails of the Israeli occupation. He saw the boots through his blurry eyes and the refracted sunlight and the pain. We want you to confess to the gang and the explosive. Can you hear us? Blood, hawk, and pain. Suddenly his body left its owner and went to incalculable pains. He saw it fade away and sink into the pool of pain. He saw it go, but he could not call to it. His beak was broken, his voice was hoarse, and his blood covered the ground. The body went to its pain, and Yalo felt that he had shed the hawk and taken on the tentacles of the cuttlefish, and the pain stopped. He saw how he grew 8 arms and 70 million optic cells stretched across his limbs, and saw his female, Shireen, swimming to his side in the depths, and he extended his 4th right arm to her. This arm was his sexual member. He pressed it into her feminine cavity, felt the eggs, and fertilized them, and slept inside her. The hawk was under their feet, and the cuttlefish mated with his female, who swayed around him and engaged in beautiful sport with him. His 4th arm was inside her, and its thousands of eyes opened an infinite universe of colors to him. He saw what lay within the color blue, and he saw colors that didn't even have names because humankind could not perceive them. Ink emerged from every part of Yalo, who had moved from his hawkish state to his maritime state and sunk to the depth, extending his 8 arms and flying through the water. When he saw them and their boots, he fired his ink to mislead them, and the blood-colored ink flooded out. They made him stand and shackled him. He saw the interrogator's face squinting into the sun, and the red hue forming halos around his head went on the window and flew away. The interrogator came close to him and spat in his face and slapped him. Then his palm filled with blood. He wiped his palm on the hawk's overcoat and ordered them to take him away. The hands on the wounded hawk withdrew, and they let him drop to the floor. Red lights plaguing his eyes. Yalo closed them, felt his tears, and sensed a serenity spreading through his body. Yalo became salty. He wanted to tell them that he needed some fresh water. He wanted to weep and leave his body to tremble and moan so that the heat of death would leave him before he died. He had the impression of falling into an abyss, felt that the valley swallowed him, and that he had become a pine tree. He smelled the pine sap and began to chew. The blood gushing in his mouth tasted like grilled pine. He curled his body up just before feeling himself being dragged out of the interrogation room toward a jeep, where they sat him down among a group of policemen whose fat bellies hung over their leather belts. Yalo did not know what or where or how. Had he drunk anything? Had he eaten anything? Had he said anything? Had he? Later on, he wrote that he found himself in a pool of water, leaning against the water rising to his chest as he struggled to breathe, colors mingling with smells. His body intermingled with the smell of his blood, feces, and urine. He stretched out in water before curling up in it and began to drown. Yalo vaguely remembered that a voice emerged from his limbs, remembered that he had become a voice, that he felt a mouth howling inside his mouth, and then he remembered nothing. Yalo wrote that he did not remember. When they took him back to the interrogation room, when he saw the interrogator's head by the window, when he saw the sun that had disappeared from the window, Yalo wanted to ask the interrogator where the sun had gone. He wanted to see the reflected light that veiled his vision but brought light. He wanted light, but the interrogator asked him for his opinion. What did he ask for? Why he did ask for his opinion? My opinion of what, sir? Your opinion of what's happened to you, said the interrogator. Why? What happened to me? Asked Yalo. The bathtub. Tell me, did you like the bathtub? Yalo understood that the bathtub was the name the interrogator gave to those vague memories filled with blood, water, and fear. Yalo lowered his head and saw the interrogator's hand coming toward him. He recoiled instinctively, but the hand approached with the white sheets of paper. Take these, said the interrogator, giving him the sheet of paper. Write the story of your life from beginning to end. Yalo wanted to say that he didn't know how to write. I want everything. Don't forget, even the smallest detail. I want whoever reads it to know and understand everything. Don't write me any riddles. Write things as they happened. I don't want you to make anything up. Sit down and remember and write down what you remember. I want this story from start to finish. Yalo wanted to say that he did not know the start from the finish, and that he could not write, but the blood prevented him. Blood was dribbling from his nose, and the air around him grew thinner. He tried to open his mouth to breathe, but he closed his eyes. Thank you.